He walked into a Quamet, Alabama gas station with a loaded .45 and a chilling promise: no witnesses. Minutes later, a clerk lay dead, shot execution style, and the killer disappeared into the night without a trace of emotion. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It was cold, calculated, and entirely premeditated. Welcome back to Death Row Diaries, the channel where we unravel the darkest minds on death row and the twisted paths that brought them there. Today we're diving into the disturbing case of Geoffrey Todd West, a convicted murderer whose execution has finally been scheduled after nearly 3 decades of legal battles. But what made this case different, and why did it take so long for justice to catch up? Stick around. This one is more unsettling than most. Don't forget to subscribe if you're drawn to stories that expose the raw truth behind America's death row. Let's get into it. Geoffrey Todd West didn't look like a monster. In fact, to most people, he barely registered at all. He lived in Alabama, quiet, ordinary, the kind of guy you wouldn't remember if you passed him in the grocery store. No criminal record, no violent history. Just a man working a regular job, with a deadly plan building beneath the surface. He had a girlfriend. They worked together at a Chevron station. She thought he was just intense, moody maybe, but not dangerous. What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that Geoffrey had already decided what he was going to do next, and it started with a murder. March 27, 1997, Gadsden, Alabama. It was late, quiet, one of those nights where you can hear your own breath echo inside a gas station. Margaret Parrish Berry, the store clerk, was working the night shift. A friendly woman, local. People knew her, trusted her. That's when Geoffrey walked in. He wasn't there to talk. He was armed with a .45 caliber handgun, and this wasn't random. Court records show he forced Margaret to the floor. She complied. No resistance, no struggle. And then he shot her, point blank, in the back of the head, execution style. He didn't run, he didn't panic. He calmly took the cash and left, leaving Margaret's lifeless body behind the counter. The entire ordeal lasted minutes, but the consequences, eternal. This wasn't just murder, this was intent. Long before that night, Geoffrey had reportedly told people he was planning to take care of business, that he would leave no witnesses. He wasn't panicking after the crime, he wasn't even hiding. According to testimony from his own girlfriend, he showed no remorse. If anything, he seemed satisfied. Even worse, he had told her what he was going to do before they ever stepped into the store. He meant to kill Margaret Berry, not by accident, not in self-defense, but because, in his own words, dead people can't talk. Pause for a second. Do you believe some people are born with that kind of cold calculation? Or does something happen along the way to twist them? Let us know your take in the comments. At first, the case went cold. There were no cameras, no fingerprints, nothing to link anyone directly to the scene. Margaret's murder looked like another tragic unsolved crime until someone cracked under pressure. Geoffrey's girlfriend. Faced with the weight of what they had done, she broke down and confessed. Her statement blew the case wide open. She led investigators to the weapon. She described the planning, the conversations, and even the disturbing calm Geoffrey showed afterward. That confession became the backbone of the prosecution's case. Geoffrey Todd West was arrested, and he never denied it. In 1999, Geoffrey stood trial for capital murder. The evidence was devastating. The motive was chilling. The jury didn't take long. 10 out of 12 jurors voted for the death penalty, the maximum sentence under Alabama law. Even the judge seemed disturbed. During sentencing, the court noted Geoffrey's lack of remorse. His expression remained blank, cold, almost indifferent. He had killed Margaret Berry as if her life meant nothing. And in that courtroom, facing the consequences, he didn't flinch. But even after the sentence, the story wasn't over. Geoffrey filed appeal after appeal. He claimed ineffective counsel. He tried to argue that the killing wasn't premeditated. He even filed for post-conviction relief, saying the jury hadn't fully considered mitigating circumstances. In 2002, his R-32 petition was initially dismissed, but in a surprise turn, Alabama's Supreme Court said the petition was actually timely based on a loophole in the filing deadline. For a moment, it looked like Geoffrey might get another chance, but it didn't last. In ruling after ruling, the court stood firm. This was a calculated execution. Justice had been served. The death sentence would remain. Then came the bombshell. In early 2025, the state of Alabama announced that Geoffrey Todd West would finally be executed in July 2025. After nearly 3 decades behind bars, his date with death had been locked in. But here's the twist. His execution won't happen by lethal injection. Instead, Alabama will use nitrogen hypoxia, a controversial new method that replaces oxygen with nitrogen until the inmate loses consciousness and dies. It's being marketed as more humane, but many disagree. Critics say it's untested, secretive, potentially painful, and yet the state insists it's the future. What do you think? Is nitrogen hypoxia a step forward in execution methods, or something far more sinister? Drop your thoughts below. Before we end this story, we need to say her name again: Margaret Parrish Berry. She wasn't famous, she wasn't powerful, but she mattered. Margaret was kind, a familiar face to regulars at the Chevron station. She worked hard, she laughed loud, she was loved by her family. And in a moment of cold, calculated violence, her life was stolen, just to make sure a few dollars could be taken without resistance. Her family waited nearly 30 years for justice. They will never stop missing her. Geoffrey Todd West entered that gas station in 1997, knowing exactly what he was going to do. He had no outburst, no panic, no regret. And now, nearly 30 years later, his journey is almost over, with a sealed execution date and a method the world is still trying to understand. The question remains, does time dull justice, or does it make the final moment even sharper? Let us know what you think in the comments. If this case shook you, make sure to subscribe to Death Row Diaries. We're uncovering one death row story at a time, raw, real, and unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.